tuning in. We're joined now by Supreme Court Justice Robert Torres to talk about some of the events on Law Week and why the island recognizes it. Thanks for joining us, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. It's a pleasure to be here. Well, this year for Law Week, we've got a lot of activities on board, as we usually do. It's been 5 years since we've expanded on the Law Day theme to take it to Law Week, recognizing that there were a lot of activities that you couldn't compress in a day, and to actively involve more members of the community, both the educational community as well as our providers and service partners. So, and the numbers are amazing how much they've grown. This year we had over 1,000 entries into our art contests and over 250 essay contest entrants. And in addition, we'll be having 350 kids participate in the mock trials and open house at our court next week, which is up from when we first started this 5 years ago of 45 kids. So you can see how much excitement it's generated within the schools. And it's a real reward for the judiciary to be able to open our doors and have them participate. So we've got the mock trials, of course, as we always do. Some of the key trials that we'll have next week, of course, Goldilocks again will go on trial for bad manners with the Three Bears. There'll be a number of those picking up on the fairy tale mock trials. We have the State of the Judiciary address by Chief Justice Carbolito on May 1st at the Legislative Hall at 10 a.m. And we invite the public to come down, and if you're not able to come, to watch the speech on TV or a live broadcast, I believe, or simulcast on radio. We also will be having a number of outreach programs with community providers, and then it'll culminate next week with the Law Fair at the Micronesian Mall. The Law Fair continues to grow by leaps and bounds, and all the service providers, anyone who has any business with the courts, assistance with our public defenders, with indigent clients, with service providers for counseling, and they'll all be there at the fair. So it's a great opportunity for people to come and get information all in one venue.
I know this is a great opportunity for our youth to get involved and learn what are some of the laws of the island and how the judicial system works for Guam. Tell us, what's your overview for the Supreme Court or for the Judicial Center in this last year? How do you think that the courts have been doing?
Well, picking up on our theme, I mean, we have our challenges. And the theme of this year's Law Week is, no courts, no justice, no freedom. And the emphasis really is looking at funding for the courts and the importance of keeping the courts funded to ensure that they provide the adequate level of service that the clients deserve. We've had some challenges, and we have some future challenges that we're going to have to address. A number of our specialty courts, the therapeutic courts that we undertake, our drug courts, both the juvenile and adult drug courts, and our mental health courts have been very successful, but they're resource intensive. And we recognize that, in the long run, they'll save you money as opposed to incarceration. But it takes a lot of resources, both counseling, judicial intervention, constant meeting with the clients to ensure that it's a success. And, some of the federal funding for the programs that have been established, like our mental health courts, have now expired. And so we've got to look at local funding to pick up the tab on that. And we know what benefits it's provided. We've seen some of our mental patients become active members of the community because of the involvement of the courts in the process, as opposed to treating them like criminals, recognizing that the mental disease or defect has contributed to some of the criminal activity that they've undertaken in the past. And with strong intervention by the courts, by the attorneys, collaborating, by the counselors and community service providers, mental health, we've been able to see a significant difference in what's been done. So that's really what the theme is, and I think that's been our biggest challenge through this past year, is looking at resources. We understand the tight fiscal constraints that the government faces, and everybody has to do more with less. But I think the judiciary has been very progressive in that for a number of years. We were one of the first branches of government to institute freezes, to go forward in terms of looking at being technologically more proficient and taking advantage of savings that we could do using technology. You know, we didn't stand idly by when we knew we needed a new case management system, but there was no local funding for it. We aggressively sought federal grants and money, and we were able to get almost $8 million in grants money to fund our new case management system, which will provide a lot more public access to the courts, as well as make it a lot more efficient for us and save us money in the long run. So we've been very aggressive in that way, but I think that's really been our biggest challenge is resources. And the theme, and we want to highlight that with the national theme, which is no courts, no justice, no freedom.
I'm sure we'll hear more on the status of the judiciary next Friday with this Chief Justice. But tell us, were there any experiences that you had in law, you know, the experiences with Law Week where it benefits the community? Any stories that you can share?
Oh, there are so many that you do. But I think, you know, what really I think touches my heart the most is when I see the kids come to the mock trial plays, and you know, you see kindergarteners, first graders, you know, there in the courtroom playing the role of the judge, of the prosecutor, of the defendant, the witness, the bailiff, and you see all of the parents and all of the grandparents present in the courtroom, and a number of them have come to us and said, you know, I've never been to the court before. I've never seen the court, and this is a good opportunity for me to be exposed about what goes on in the courts. And for the children, if just one of those children, by virtue of him being exposed to that, makes a correct decision to stay away from trouble in his journey through life, I think will be a great success. And we know that it's going to have a broader impact on that. And we've seen a number of the kids that have been participating in these mock trials as you know, elementary school students, then doing it as high school students as well. And a number of the high school mock trial students have now come back as lawyers. So really seeing that message conveyed, and also, you know, the play by the rules, now part of the educational curriculum for 7th graders and 8th graders, and also the Children at Risk program that we've been able to do on the outreach, and now our bullying program through the judiciary. I think for me personally, it's really the impact we've had on our youth. That's for me been the most touching.
Yeah, the courts definitely have a lot on their hands when it comes to the backlog of cases they already have to handle. And I'm sure this is just a great effort to make sure that the youth out there don't end up in the system.
And it is. It's a proactive approach. You're exactly right. It's a proactive approach to recognizing that, you know, you can put a little bit of investment in now, and it's going to make a significant difference and down the road. And we don't want to see these children in our system as young juvenile offenders.
Right.
And